Welcome to another video. In this video we're going to be looking at how to go about creating your own Space Marine custom chapter, especially with 10th edition just around the corner. So let's jump in, let's get cracking. Hello, so 10th edition is just around that corner and this is the perfect time to start a new army project, and especially for something that maybe you want to have your own little personal touch onto, which means Space Marines are the perfect army for that because they have such customization with the paint jobs and themes and everything else that you may want to do. So what I'm hoping that this video does is gives you the tools that you can use to help you create your own Space Marine chapter. Now there are various things out there, there's these little pictures that you can colour in and everything else, and it's not just about the colour scheme and everything else, although that is a big part of it, and we will definitely be addressing colours and everything else in part 2 of this series. But it also is your idea and how you're going to grow and build this army, because that's essentially what this is. It's an army project with your own flair and personal taste into it, in even your own lore. Now I've tried to make my own Space Marine chapter many a times, and a lot of the times I hit the same stumbling blocks that has resulted in me failing. So as an example, decals is something that I always seem to sort of get hit with, and when we sort of look at this, we're going to sort of look at how selecting your decals and your color composition in part 2 will sort of help with sort of overcoming that problem, because decals can be quite annoying to get hold of, and a lot of people don't really want to paint over or are able to paint over the top of a decal to make it look nice and neat, so that can be kind of an issue. So what am I going to do? What personally am I going to do? So I want to do my own Space Marine chapter, and right now I am in a very much a nostalgia sort of frame of mind. There's a lot of my hobby, I'm sort of looking back at the yesteryears and trying to find armies that capture that feeling I had way back when and having it today. So like as an example, in Age of Sigmar, I'm very much going back to the Lumineth Realm Lords, because after a long hard thought thinking about it, it kind of got to me that Lumineth fill everything that I love about fantasy. They have spearmen, shield wall, they have archers, they've got cavalry, they've got wizards, they've got heroes, they've got every part of a fantasy army is there, and they cover the whole spectrum of the game as well. So they play in all of the themes, all of the phases, and they've also got that Age of Sigmar cool aspect with giant cow monsters and flying kangaroos and kangaroo cavalry and a god. So you know, it covers a myriad of things, and then when I had them before, I had that feeling of looking at the army going, wow, this reminds me of my old High Elf army. In 40k I don't really have that. I do have my World Eaters, which fits my love of wanting to get into someone's face and smash the crap out of them, but when it comes to other things about Space Marines, there are certain aspects about the army that I really love. I love the humble tactical Marine, and the new Intercessor is a good replacement of that. The new Intercessors look beautiful. I really like them. Their miniatures are really good, and they're a really nice replacement to the tactical Marine. And with some of the things that GW is telling us about 10th edition, that Primaris Marines are going to be able to ride in Rhinos and Land Raiders, that's kind of bringing me back to my favourite piece of artwork, which is this piece of artwork right here. And this piece of artwork is a Dark Angel Rhino laying down the rounds while a tactical squad debuffs from behind it, and you can see the rounds pinging off the floor towards that squad. And as somebody who is a ex British soldier who worked with warrior infantry fighting vehicles, I'm gonna a few pictures here. So that kind of sort of brings in that representation for myself, and it kind of brings me back to that piece of artwork, that I can have my Primaris Space Marines, the new looking Space Marines, in a very classic way of playing Space Marines in Rhinos and Land Raiders and drop pods and all of that cool stuff that for the past 2 editions I've not been able to do. And this is why I'm so excited. I'm so excited for 10th, and so excited for the prospect of doing an army that fits me. So one of the first things that I've done is I've kind of sort of looked at what I want from this army. What do I want it to do? What do I want it to look like? What is it that's going to drive and motivate me? And that piece of artwork is my starting point. I want an army that can do that. I want an army that can have Rhinos and tactical squads or intercessors. I want drop pods, I want Land Raiders, I want classic Terminators. Good time for Terminators. And I want all of that cool aspect that I really love about Space Marines. Now, another thing is, I don't want a close combat army, because I have a close combat army in my World Eaters. So I want this army to be more of a gunline, mid to short range army. So, and I want the classic sort of structure of a Space Marine with tacticals, with some assault marines, which are coming apparently, and some long range or some fire support squads. Even the Desolators, yes, they look derpy, but they're kind of growing on me, and dreadnoughts and things like that. So I've got in my head what I want. Now I need to sort of build that into the chapter, and that's kind of got a theme, got a chapter. So the colour scheme is also going to be very important, and another part of my nostalgia trip is that I'm very much a fan of 2nd edition 40k and the end of Rogue Trader. That's when I kind of got into 40k, was at the end of Rogue Trader into the 2nd edition. And in those days, Space Marines were quite bold with their colour schemes. They had half and half colour schemes, so you had things like the Howling Griffins, you had things like the Brazen Claws, the Nova Marines, the Marines Errant, Eagle Warriors, things like that. Even the Lustrous Angels of Redemption for the Dark Angels. They've all got this really cool, in sort of real vibrant looking colours, and the half and half scheme or the quarter scheme is really one of the things that kind of stands out for that era of Space Marine chapters. So I want to bring my chapter to that, and there's a little nod to that sort of period. So that's what I've got, the colour scheme, or the how the colours are going to be breaking down. So yeah, this is kind of going to be a really sort of cool project, and I'm really, really excited. And part 2 is going to be sort of me painting a miniature, and we're going to be talking about colours and everything else. And I've had a really good chat with an amazing Instagrammer by the name of Shogun 40k, who's absolutely amazing and has nailed the heavy metal style, which is a style of painting that I really do love and enjoy doing myself, but he is doing it at such a higher level. And we've talked a lot about colours, and we'll discuss more colours and everything else in part 2. But when you look at your scheme and things like that, you want to sort of overcome certain problems. So with your decals, as a good example for your decals, like this is an Imperial Fist decal sheet. Everything here is black. Now this comes in the little upgrade set, and that can be expensive to buy just to get these decals. Whereas the decals that you get with the normal Marines are the Ultramarines ones, and they are white. So rather than try to change your colour scheme to fit the decals or paint over the decals, sort of tweak your colour scheme. So what I'm going to be doing is the darker colour is going to be on this side of the body, the right hand side of the body, so I can put the tactical markings So the tactical arrow, which is going to be in white on there, and I don't really have to worry about painting the decal. Where the chapter icon, which I'm going to get from Mighty Brush, and they do a load of host of really cool custom chapter icons for different chapters and sort of some of the well-known successor chapters. I'll put a link to their website in the description below. I'm going to have that on this side, on the chapter icon side, but that's going to be a lighter colour because they're going to be in black, although I can buy those decals in a range of different colours. So it still works, but I don't want this side. And you don't really want to be buying a whole host of chapter decals. You can for Mighty Brush because they do a really good job at selling different decals on different sheets, different colours. But I want to try to reduce the cost and use what I'm getting in the box. So I'm going to tailor my colours and how I position the colours to fit with the decals, and this will come more apparent in part 2. So as a summary, when you go to making a chapter, you kind of want your own personal flair, and as well as the lore, you want the lore to be quite loose. So the lore that I'm thinking of doesn't mention anything about a specific chapter that they come from. Why? Because if I want Lionel Johnson on the table and in my collection, I can run my custom chapter as Dark Angels. If I would like to play Rebooted Gilliman, because I'd like to paint him and put him in my cabinet, I can run them as an Ultramarine successor. If, say, we get Vulcan comes back, I can take my army and buy Vulcan and paint him up and put him in the box in my cabinet, and then I can run them as Salamanders. Same as Blood Angels if you want them with Dante leading them, or you can do whatever you want with a custom chapter, because at the end of the day you decide if they're going to be this chapter or that, and that's the beauty of doing your own custom chapter. So bear that in mind as well. Don't sort of limit yourself by saying these are a successor for these in your lore, because that kind of sort of puts you in a niche, and then you're kind of expected to sort of stay there, and people will be more open to it if it's kind of free-flowing and forming. And for somebody like me who would be very flattered if people taken my idea and did it themselves, that would be really cool. And if you look at the lots of the chapters that the guys have made from the heavy metal team, like Darren Latham and some of the others, their chapters are quite open and sort of not specific 100% into certain successor chapter pigeonholes, and they can kind of sort of get away with doing what they kind of want around them, and that's kind of what you want. So get a rough idea and a concept, and also the biggest thing and the piece of advice that I can give here is get a chapter or an idea that you're really passionate about, that really encapsulates the imagination and really gets you juices flowing, because this is going to be like not only a cool custom idea for yourself, but this is going to be like a passion project. This is what you want to really, like when you want to paint, you're like, I want to paint one of my new Marines. I want to really get in there. I want to really go to town, and I really want to create a lore and a story behind each squad that I'm painting. And you really want to get excited for it, because when people ask you these questions at your gaming groups and you're playing your games and you get excited about your army, it's infectious. Other nerds, other hobbyists like us will feed off that. We're like, oh, that's amazing, that's so cool. Like I today told some of the sort of rough idea for my lore, for my chapter, to my very good friend Tom from over at Strength Scorpion 82, and he was like, that's amazing, that really works, that's so cool, that's a really cool idea. And that's the kind of feedback you want, and because we're all into this. So I hope this is a good starting point, and I hope that over the course of, I would say that this is probably going to take 3 to 4 videos. I hope that kind of helps. So yeah. So if you want to continue seeing this, then make sure you smash that subscribe button. Also like the video and comment below, and yeah, we'll see you in the next one, where we will be putting some brush to paint and miniatures and talking about colour combinations and and painting up the first test miniature, and it's going to be really cool. So that'll hopefully become next week, but I'm going to be trying to sort of stretch this series out from now until 10th edition. And yeah, it's going to be really amazing, and I'm really looking forward to it. So I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye for now.